Technology is a huge part of customizing the effectiveness of what we do.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach Podcast, helping appraisers increase their efficiency, quality, and make more money. Here's the guy who makes it his life's mission to create value for real estate appraisers nationwide. Your host and the Appraiser Coach, Dustin Harris.
My friends, welcome back. Dustin Harris hanging out with you once again. Got an episode today a little bit about technology and how we can utilize technology. And really this stemmed from something that I'm dealing with today. It's one of my work on your business, not in your business days. And want to share with you some of the things that I'm doing today and maybe encourage you a bit on your company, your appraisal office as well. I want to pause here, remind you that we are sponsored by some wonderful sponsors out there that have been with us from the very beginning, one of them being Alamode Software. Literally was just in Alamode changing something that was a little bit unusual. And well, I'll tell you about the experience in just a little bit, but for now, you can go to alamode.com, alamode.com for more information. DataMaster, saving people time, saving appraisers money. Speaking of technology and utilizing technology for your best efficiency, DataMaster is where it's at. You can find out more by going to datamasterusa.com. Again, it's datamasterusa.com. And finally, we're sponsored by a great little magazine called Working RE. Folks, Working RE is all about you, the appraiser. Well, they're also about home inspectors as well, but I would say 90% of the articles in that particular magazine are all about appraisers. Check them out. Go to workingre.com. That's workingre as in workingrealestate.com. Well, folks, let me set this up by telling you a little bit about what I am doing today. This is one of my work on your business, not in your business days, and I try to schedule those on a regular basis. Now, let me clarify. Weekly, I schedule my work on your business, not in your business time, and that's typically 1 hour per business. So I have a business, of course, called Appraisal Precision. That is my home base as to where I'm doing my appraisal work. And I also have, of course, the coaching business, which is what I'm doing now, podcasting for my coaching business. Every week, I try to take at least a half hour, but I do schedule an hour each for those businesses. Now, I don't always take a full hour, so maybe I might take, a half hour, 45 minutes, and then I'll transfer to another business. But working on your business, not in your business, is all about what it sounds like. It's not doing appraisals. It's not doing adjustments. It is working on improving the overall process of your appraisal business. Now, most people, myself for many years included, do not take the time that is needed to work on their business, and thus they suffer heavily for it. I find often that appraisers are just buried and they know there's certain things that they need to do to improve their processes, but they never schedule the time to do it. And notice the word I just used intentionally there, scheduled. Many people will say, well, I just don't have time. I can never find the time. Well, folks, you can always find the time to go out and do your appraisal inspection. You can always find the time to do the write-up on 123 Any Street. You find the time. You schedule the time. On Thursday afternoon, I work on my write-ups. Well, folks, on Monday morning, I schedule, yes, I put it in my calendar, working on my businesses. This is time that I am not bogged down with other things. Now, Monday morning is a difficult morning because I wake up to about 30 emails, typically Monday morning, give or take. It is very, very easy to get tempted to jump right in. I have found that if I just don't look at the email first thing in the morning, that I am usually a lot better off and I don't get sucked in by the quicksand. Working on your business is about looking at what needs to be improved, visualizing what your business can be like, and putting the pieces in order to do so. Again, that's weekly. Once in a while, it's not always, but once in a while I find that I have a day like today. Today happens to be a Thursday, and I happen to have 0 inspections today, shockingly. Thursday is typically my Wyoming day. That's the day that I make the big loop, and I sometimes do 6 to 8 inspections in a day, and it's a long day, but we get her done. Today I have 0. So I woke up this morning and yes, I had some emails to take care of. Yes, I've been taking care of fires at the office. So it's not been a completely disconnect yourself from the office day, but I decided there are 2 projects that I wanted to work on today. Both of them have to do with technology. I'm going to share with you what those are in just a minute, but I want to set this up. Many years ago, I taught a group of appraisers multiple times. In other words, I was in front of many groups, basically giving the same speech. And the speech was called The Three-Legged Stool to Success. And I did a little funny thing where I brought a very mini, it was about 4 inches high and maybe 6 inches across, a three-legged stool. And I stood up in front and said, TSA wouldn't let me bring a full stool on the airplane, so I brought a stool sample. Ba-dum-bum. And I would hold that up, everybody would laugh, and we would proceed. See, it's still funny today. I mean, I've done it 30 times. It's still funny. But I used this object lesson as a jumping off point to talk about the three legs, the pillars, if you will, to success. And I explained that the top of the stool, you need to imagine as your business, your successful business. Okay? What holds up a successful business? Well, when you're in a service-based business, it's three legs. Number one, it's technology. Number two, it's human resources. And number three, it's the processes that keep all of that moving. Number one, technology. Number two, human resources. Number three, the processes or the procedural manual, if you will, that keeps everything running and running properly. Folks, this is a true principle. Each of these each of these legs of the stool have their need, and each of them are super duper important, very important. And one of those that I want to talk about today is technology. Technology is one of the legs or the pillars of that successful business. Now, what do I mean by it's one of the pillars of success? Well, we're all about this balance between quality and efficiency, right? Tim Anderson and I had a talk years ago, and I utilized one of his wonderful services out there. Yes, he charges money for it, and yes, it's worth it. That you can basically give him 3 appraisal reports and say, Tim, I want you to scrutinize, I want you to rip these things apart. I want you to tell me everything that's wrong with this report. Yes, it's a little bit embarrassing. Yes, it takes a little bit of humility to do that. I mean, Tim's a smart guy. It's a little embarrassing. He's a friend of mine. Hey, Tim, I'm kind of shaking in my boots. Here's my reports. Why don't you pick them apart for me and tell me what an idiot I am, right? That's basically what you need to do in this process. But there's a purpose for that. It's not so that you look dumb. It's so that you can look better. And Tim will pick those things apart and he'll say, listen, in the future, dummy. No, he won't say that, but he'll say, in the future, Dustin, you need to do this, that, and the other, and you will be able to probably avoid having problems with the state board. You've got these major gaps here that I think need to be filled. Now, the thing that happened when Tim and I worked together on this project is he came back with one of the reports, I think had like 30 pages of notes. Yeah, 30. Of things that should be changed. And I was like, okay, all right. And I started going through them and I'm like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. All right, yeah, I think he's right. I'm definitely deficient in that area. Okay, that's probably an overreach, Tim, but all right, whatever. I mean, I guess you've got a point, but really? And this is the conversation that I had with him. And I said, Tim, if I did everything on this report that you gave back to me, if I did this on every single appraisal report, it would take me a week to do every appraisal. And he said, I know. You wanted to know everything that is a deficiency. What you need to do now, Dustin, is decide which ones you're going to implement and which ones you're not. Because, and he went on to explain, no report is perfect. And by the way, he went through and told me which ones were probably important enough that we do on every one. And he completely changed so many things, including the way that I handle highest and best use, by the way, was a huge changing point in my life. Very well worth the time and money I spent to utilize his services. By the way, you can get a hold of Tim by emailing him, tim@theappraisersadvocate.com, tim@theappraisersadvocate.com. He'll do the same service for you. It's amazing. But the point is this, folks. There's no such thing as a perfect appraisal, right? And there are many deficiencies in every appraisal report, but we are always trying to do better. We are always trying to get things up to speed. Now, one of the things that we found through the process and through many years of being in business is that technology can help solve problems very quickly that are not solvable otherwise, or at least it would take a whole lot of human resource energy to solve them in a different way. Let me state that in a different direction to make sure it's understood. I think it's an important principle. We've been doing appraisals for many, many years, and I remember when I first started, I knew a guy that was still using a typewriter. And by the way, this was long after typewriters should have been used on appraisals, right? And I met with him in his office one day, and I asked him, I said, why are you still using a typewriter? I didn't quite ask it that way. I was a little bit more respectful. And he said, well, it's always worked for me. That was his answer. Well, folks, I mean, this is a micro example of why you should use something like Total, right? That will help you to accomplish. I mean, this guy really did accomplish, I think, 1 appraisal in a week. That would be a cookie cutter appraisal. The point is you can do it manually, but should you? Are there ways that you can utilize technology to help you to be more efficient and have higher quality? Well, there's a couple of them, and they're sponsors here on the program. Again, I mentioned a la mode. Folks, if you have not dug into a la mode recently, you need to. And I'm telling you, the support system out there is second to none. I was just working on a thing that's not very typical. I was actually changing a user's email in my total program. So I've got several appraisers that work for me, and I realized that we put the wrong email on his contact. And I have no idea how to do that. I don't know how to change that. I played around with it for about 15 seconds and couldn't figure it out. And so I did what any smart person would do. I went to alamode.com and went to the help desk, and I typed in contact email, and boom, there was an article that I clicked on, and it was step by step, very easy. Within seconds, I had this problem solved. That's the kind of support that a la mode gives you, and that's the kind of technology that I want to be utilizing in my appraisal office. You can find out more by calling them 800 a la mode, or you can pick up your computer and type in www.alamode.com. Speaking of using technology to help speed the process, folks, you can manually type in your borrower name, your owner name, your deed number, the parcel number, the legal description, the MC data, the grid at the top of page 2, and your comps. You can do that, hand-picked. And you'll probably make some mistakes, and it will take you a long time. Or you can hit one button, make no mistakes, and it will take you seconds with DataMaster. Folks, that's the kind of technology that I'm talking about that will help you to be better. DatamasterUSA.com is where you find out more. DatamasterUSA.com. Finally, we are sponsored by Working RE Magazine. Folks, I'm telling you, folks, there's very few periodicals that I read in the physical format anymore. Working RE is one of those. It comes out on a quarterly basis. It is free, F-R-E-E. If you're not getting it, go to their website, workingre.com, and sign up. Put your mailing address in there. They will mail you a copy of their free magazine every single quarter. It is great. I take it on the airplane. I read it on the airplane. I don't think there is an article that I miss each and every quarter. It's a great little magazine. And did I mention it's free? Workingre.com. Again, it's workingre.com. And we're back. Folks, we're talking about technology today. I've been working on my business, not in my business today. And by the way, there is an argument to be made. Maybe some of you are screaming at your earbuds right now and saying, well, Dustin, I thought you said working on your business was not doing anything other than just visualizing what your business should be like and writing down a few notes. Technically, that is true. But today is one of those things that I'm not doing appraisals, right? I'm not really, there's a few fires I've got to put out at the office. I still run the business, if you will. But for the most part, I'm working on things that will help improve the lives of my appraisers. And I'm using technology to do that in two ways. Let me share with you one. One of them is through the process of utilizing technology in such a way that I don't have to deal with email as heavily as I need to normally. Now, let me explain. First of all, I don't deal with the email personally. I have my personal email address that few people have, and we've got our business address that many people have. Consequently, because many people have it, and we get updates from AMCs and questions and this, that, and the other, as well as our internal ordering and communication system, meaning inner office, that email inbox gets to be a little heavy at times. It is not unusual to wake up on a Monday morning and have 300 plus emails that need to be sorted through. And by the way, my goal with my office is to have inbox 0 every night. Now, sometimes we have inbox 0 at 4:58 p.m. and by 5:02 we've got 13 new ones. That's okay. We'll deal with those tomorrow morning. But it is a process throughout the day to deal with email. And so today, one of the things that I've been working on is finding out more. I've not pulled the trigger on any of these yet, but there are email management systems out there that can be integrated into the Gmail system that we already subscribe to. And these systems will, for example, sort. Okay, now I know there's filters on Gmail, but it's similar to that when an email comes in that ABC Bank just paid an invoice, that would shoot an email that would forward that email to my personal email, because I always like to see, I like money. I like to see the money coming in. Actually, what I do is I utilize that to double check and make sure it actually got deposited like they said it did, just a check and balance. But the other one will go to my bookkeeper, my accounts receivable gal, and she will note it in ANOW that, yep, it's been paid. Now, my office manager can sit and sort through, we probably get 20 of those a day, paids, email, this has been paid. She can sort through each of those and click on it and then hit forward and then put, Lisa's address and Dustin's address and hit forward and do that 20 different times in a day. Or we can set up an automatic system to where she doesn't ever have to see it. It pops into the inbox briefly, it goes forwarding to the two individuals, and then it gets archived and she's none the wiser. Then instead of dealing with 300 emails on Monday morning, she's dealing with 280. And then we go through and we go to the next rule and the next system. And now these management systems do more than just filter. Again, if that's all they did, then we could probably just use Gmail to filter. But what they will do is allow us to talk to one another, allows other people to deal with the bids that come in, the questions for the AMCs, without having to give them the master username and password for our main email. Now, the purpose of today's podcast is not to go into great detail on each of these systems. It's simply to share that those systems exist and that I've been spending time today trying to lessen the load of my office manager by working on the business to utilize technology to help her to not have to wade through so many emails every day. That's number one. Number two, I've been dealing with a worksheet that I did in conjunction with a wonderful partner, did a webinar on recently. And by the way, the partner's name is Jim Stafford. He's a very smart appraiser out of Texas, and he knows his stuff. And we did a webinar together most recently that you, by the way, can purchase on my website. I'll tell you how to get that at the end of the program here. But the workshop was a hit. The workshop was very, very popular because the workshop will basically save you all kinds of time. It's a webinar called Unlock the Full Potential of Total. And it basically, the tagline is save up to 100 hours per year. And by the way, I think Jim is being super, super conservative with that. Now, I did that webinar months ago, and I'm barely getting to setting up the worksheet myself. It is a process, right? I've got to take time away from my regular appraisal day to set this up. But that's kind of the point. Once it's set up, I realistically can save 15 to 20 minutes per appraisal report. Now, let me explain why. The webinar is all about how to use the stuff that Total already provides that most appraisers underutilize. It's the worksheet. It's automatic rules, if you will. I'll give you one that's an example. It's already built into the worksheet. If you click private well, which happens, 50% of the time on the appraisals that I do here locally, well, maybe 40% of the time, not a majority, but close. If you click private well, it will automatically write a statement that private wells are very common in this area and don't affect marketability or value, and boom, it's in your addendum. If you click this button, then this will have, they're if-thens, right? If you do this, then this will happen. If you have an across-the-board adjustment for garage, there's a comment that would go in there as to why that is. Now, you can still tweak it and you can still customize it, but at least the first step is done for you. Do you see how this starts to save you time, right? You can simply focus your time and energy on making the right adjustments, supporting those adjustments, and those addendums are kind of written for you. Yes, you've got to go back through and make sure they apply, make sure the quality is there, but folks, easily saving 15 to 20 minutes per report because you set up rules that say, when this happens, then I want this to happen. I am in the process today of setting that up, which of course led me to want to do this podcast and remind you that there are three legs to that stool. Technology is a huge part of customizing the effectiveness of what we do. It, by the way, improves the quality as well, as we talked about with DataMaster earlier. Instead of fat fingering something and putting something in wrong, the technology is going to take from one and put into another very simply without error. It's pretty amazing when you think about it. Technology. When was the last time you sat down and worked on your business and said, is my technology up to snuff? Are there things that I can do in my business to start to automate things that will allow us to save time? I know, Dustin, you don't have time, right? Dustin, I really don't have time to do you have any idea how many appraisals I'm doing right? Yeah, probably about the same that we're doing, which is a lot. I didn't have time to do this today. There are 1,000 other things I could have spent time on, but I decided today was the day. Sit down, get off the bike, fix the chain so we can go faster. I told you I would tell you about this new webinar. It's called Unlock the Full Potential of Total. By the way, it's only $59. It's a steal. Save up to 100 hours a year by watching this webinar, starting to implement what is in there. You can find it on my website by going to theappraisercoach.com/products. Just go to the products tab. Just scroll down. You'll see it. Big bold letters, new webinar, Unlock the Full Potential of Total. By the way, if you're a member of the All-Star team, you get 25% off of that. You know how, guys. Check it out. theappraisercoach.com/products. Unlocking the full potential of Total.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.